Ella Morgan was a college student working part-time at a McDonald's branch on Route 22. She never sought attention, always preferring to let her actions speak louder than her words. Ella was kind-hearted and humble. One Friday afternoon a few weeks ago, Ella was working in the restaurant when suddenly the beep of the scanner broke the silence in the otherwise quiet McDonald's. A tall young man walked into the restaurant. He seemed calm, but also a little anxious, as if he didn't quite belong in this place. Ella stood behind the counter, hastily preparing an order, but her eyes kept returning to the young man at the register. Barron Trump, tall and composed, dressed neatly, had placed his order but was now fumbling through his pockets, looking for his wallet. His movements were hurried, and his face went from confident to puzzled as he realized his wallet was missing. Ella noticed the change in his expression, the growing anxiety. Without hesitation, Ella took out her own bank card, swiped it through the register, and quietly paid for Barron's meal without drawing attention. She smiled warmly and handed him his tray, gently whispering, "Don't worry." Barron looked at her with gratitude, surprise, and appreciation. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but then just nodded, mumbling a soft, "Thank you." Though no words were spoken, Ella didn't push him to explain or make him feel embarrassed. To her, it was just the right thing to do. She returned to her work as though nothing had happened, leaving Barron standing there with his tray of food and an indescribable feeling in his heart. Ella had no idea that in the weeks that followed, she would experience a miracle she had never dared to dream of. The person she helped that day was Barron Trump, the youngest son of Donald Trump. He had snuck away from home to seek a bit of freedom, but this act of kindness left a deep impression on him, an impression he couldn't forget. In the weeks that followed, Ella continued working at McDonald's, unaware of the ripple effect her kind gesture had set in motion. At the vast library of Seven Springs Estate, when Barron returned home, he sat in an armchair, flipping through the pages of a book, but his mind couldn't focus. He sat across from his father, President Donald Trump, who was absorbed in a pile of paperwork on his desk. "Dad," Barron spoke up, breaking the silence in the room. Trump looked up, his sharp eyes softening as they met his son's gaze. "What's going on, son?" Barron put the book down, hesitated for a moment, and then spoke. "I can't stop thinking about the girl at McDonald's. She helped me for no reason at all." Trump raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "What did she do?" Barron began recounting the story from the moment he realized he didn't have his wallet to when Ella quietly paid for his meal. As he finished, his voice lowered, his gaze showing clear contemplation. Trump leaned back in his chair, tapping his fingers lightly on the armrest. "She's a special person," Barron said. Donald Trump listened intently. Even though the world saw him as a larger-than-life figure, moments like this reminded him of the values he truly cherished. "What's her name?" Trump asked. "Ella," Barron replied. "She works at the McDonald's on Route 22. Ideas began forming in Trump's mind. He wasn't one to let acts of kindness go unnoticed, especially when it involved his family. "We're going to visit her," he declared. His team immediately began preparing for the visit, ensuring it would be a complete surprise. Trump instructed them to keep everything under wraps. "Make it like my visit, but don't let the press know. This is about her, not me." In the following days, Trump's team worked tirelessly, reaching out to Ella's university and preparing a surprise gift for her. Barron got involved in every detail, from choosing the paper for the letter to designing the envelope. As the plan began to take shape, he couldn't hide his excitement. Both father and son knew that sometimes a small gesture could change everything, and this time they wanted to be the ones to make that change. 3 days after the plan was confirmed, a convoy of black SUVs pulled up outside the McDonald's. Ella, busy with the lunch rush, moved quickly, flipping burgers on the grill. The clatter of orders, the hum of the coffee machine, and the laughter of customers created a lively atmosphere. She was so focused on her work that she didn't notice the change in the space until the air suddenly grew still. A strange silence spread throughout the restaurant. Ella looked up and froze. Walking through the door was none other than Donald Trump, accompanied by his security team. The murmur of the customers quietly died down, and everyone tried to understand what was happening. Ella stood motionless, still holding the spatula, her eyes wide in disbelief as she stared at the scene before her. A quiet buzz of whispers filled the air, mixing curiosity and astonishment. "Is Ella Morgan here?" Donald Trump's voice rang out clearly but warmly, drawing immediate attention from everyone in the room. Even though the entire room was focused on him, his voice softened the atmosphere, making it feel intimate. Ella felt as if her feet were glued to the floor, unable to move. A colleague nearby gently nudged her shoulder and whispered, "Ella, they're calling for you." She hesitated for a moment, then walked forward, the flowers on her apron still stained with food. "It's me," she said, her voice calm, but inside, a storm of emotions was rising. Trump extended his hand, offering a sincere smile. "Ella, I've heard so much about you from Barron, my son. You did something very special that day, and we're here to thank you." Barron stepped forward, offering a shy smile. "I'll never forget what you did for me," he said. "Thank you." Ella's cheeks flushed, and she awkwardly replied, "It's nothing, I just helped a little." "It's not nothing," Trump said firmly, his voice full of warmth and conviction. He turned to one of his assistants, who immediately handed Ella a thin envelope. Inside was a scholarship that covered the remaining cost of her college tuition, along with a heartfelt letter from Barron. "We want to make sure you have every opportunity to pursue your dreams," Trump added. The room erupted into loud applause, and Ella felt as if she were living in a dream. She could feel the eyes of everyone in the room on her, but in that moment, everything felt like a wave of emotion, overwhelming her heart. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice choked. Trump smiled gently, his eyes soft as he looked at her. "Just keep being yourself. That's all you need to do." As the convoy of SUVs left the parking lot, Ella stood by the window, her hand still clutching the envelope. The remaining customers continued to chat and congratulate her. Inside, Ella understood that this wasn't just a material gift. It was a reminder that small acts of kindness could create profound changes she had never imagined. She stood, frozen, her eyes following the convoy as it disappeared, her heart overflowing with emotions she couldn't put into words. It felt as if her whole heart was soaring, as if she were living in a dream she couldn't quite reach. The congratulatory words from her colleagues and customers gradually faded, but in her mind the images of Trump and Barron, along with their sincere gratitude, continued to echo. She carefully tucked the envelope into her jacket pocket and looked out the window toward the sky. A strange feeling spread in her chest, not only happiness but also the sense that her life was about to change in ways she couldn't yet imagine. Meanwhile, in an SUV moving through the streets, Barron turned to his father, his eyes full of curiosity. "What do you think she'll do next?" Trump smiled, his gaze sharp, reflecting the strong-willed nature he was famous for. "We've planted the seed, Barron. Now it's time to see how it grows. But I have a feeling this girl is going to do something big." Barron nodded, though curiosity still shone clearly in his eyes. "What if we continue helping her? I don't want this to just be a fleeting moment." Trump placed his hand on his son's shoulder, his smile gentle and full of understanding. "Don't worry, this is just the beginning." As the crowd slowly dispersed and the atmosphere in McDonald's returned to quiet, Ella sat down at a corner table, her eyes never leaving the envelope in her hands. Inside, along with the thank you letter, was a short message from Trump. "We are always watching you. Don't stop striving." She held the paper close to her chest, her heart filled with determination. Something in those words had sparked a new flame inside her, a reminder that her journey had only just begun, and this was just the first step. Ella had no idea that somewhere far away, significant events were quietly unfolding. Events that would not only change her life, but would also create a story the world would one day witness. This story brings a lesson in kindness and gratitude. Have you ever helped someone without expecting anything in return, only to realize that your act made a huge difference in their life? If this story has touched your heart, we'd love for you to share its message by liking and sharing it with your friends, helping us reach our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers, which means the world to us and allows us to create more meaningful stories for you. Don't forget to share your thoughts about the story and let us know which city you're watching from. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you in our next story.